called a big old Alabama mountain there. It was a big long slope. And we camped there. And there's a bunch of the boys went out and killed just a whole sack full of these here mud ducks. They thought they was getting ducks, you know, wild ducks, and they was mud ducks, mud hens. I brought them up to the camp and picked the feathers off of them and put them in the skillet, and oh, did they give us them. We all didn't have no supper because that was so bad scent, you know. My mother threw her skillet away because you couldn't cook it no more. We come to Shawnee, Oklahoma, landed there in Shawnee, and went over to the wagon yard, and there was just one board building in Shawnee at that time. We stopped in the wagon yard and stayed all night. And then the next morning we drove out to the News place down on the North Canadian River and picked up potatoes. We stayed there 6 weeks, picked up potatoes. We got 3 cents a bushel. In 1898. And then we went on down and taken up an Indian lease. The North Canadian River in Seminole County on the Indian lease. And there, I and my brother would get out and we wandered away from the house. My old Sakichi, he had a band of 40 warriors, young warriors. And he'd go down to Kirkwood Falls. They'd get down there and get a whole lot of hot water, they call it. And they'd drink that, and then they'd come back through the country and shoot arrows. And my brother sat at the barn one evening in the shed playing, and the crib was between us and the road. And we heard these Indians whoop. Well, we know they're too close, we couldn't make it to the house, so we just ducked under the manger. And when they went on by, we counted 17 arrows that they shot at that barn. It was a log barn. They'd some go through and come through and stick in the ground on the other side, over in the stall where we were at. And then they had an old nigger, Sam Jones, was there, and he was a very bad man. And Charlie Black was not. But Sam Jones come to our house one evening, rode up into the yard, and he told my brother, he said, give us some matches. And he was very sensible, so he even ducked. And when he seen that he wasn't going to get it, he had his gun on him, and he tried his gun, he says, go get me some matches. My mother that time come to the door, and she said what he was doing, so she just brought out a new box of matches. And he reached down and took the matches from his pocket and walked off. But then about 3 weeks later, there was a couple of young men drove up to our gate with this big old stove tree standing there. And they was in a hack, an Indian hack. And it was, had Indian ponies hooked to it, and they drove up there and got out, tied their horses, got out of there, or walked on into the house. Wasn't nobody there but this time my mother and brother. They walked in and sat down by the fire and never said a word. They rolled their heads, and that was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then about sundown, they sat down about sundown. About sundown, they got up and walked out and never said nothing. Got in their hack and drove on off. And that night, midnight, while they killed an old man and his daughter and drove their cows off down close to Kentucky.